Kiju gets bullied every single day and treated like complete trash by everyone around him. When he meets a girl named Saman at his new school, she beats him up and tells him he's pathetic for being so weak. Her father sees something in Kiju and teaches him how to box, giving him one shot to change his miserable life. Now Kiju trains until his hands give out, determined to dominate ring, all for the love of boxing. However, before all this, at a boxing match, a young boy is fighting against a scary-looking opponent, and people say that this match is a truly unpredictable neck-to-neck battle where no one knows who will win. Everyone in the crowd believes that the young boy, Lee Kiju, is slowly losing his focus because he looks completely worn out after fighting for such a long time. Kiju tries to push himself forward, but his footwork looks shaky and unsteady, making it seem like he might fall at any moment. However, instead of collapsing, he suddenly throws a jab toward his opponent with all the strength he has left. He does not stop after that single jab and continues by aiming punches at his opponent's body as well. Even so, the opponent's defense is strong and solid, and he keeps blocking every attack that comes toward him. After that, Kiju's opponent also attacks him aggressively, but he narrowly dodges his opponent's rear hand strike, and then he tries to attack back with an uppercut punch, but it misses again. Kiju just doesn't stop there and keeps attacking his opponent repeatedly, who manages to dodge each one of them skillfully and hits him back hard on his limbs in return. Furthermore, the opponent goes for a face jab to finish things, but Kiju dodges it, so the guy then hits him with a powerful strike directly on his face instead. At that moment, Kang Jin, who is Kiju's opponent, is preparing the finishing move, so he just hits Kiju straight on his neck with brutal force. With that, Kiju falls on the ground badly, and before falling unconscious completely, Kiju stares at a girl who was watching the entire match from the sidelines. At that moment, Kiju wonders why he is lying there like that on the ground and starts thinking about when everything first began in his journey. His thoughts move to a memory from the past, when he meets a beautiful girl who asks if the phone she finds belongs to him, but Kiju cannot say anything because he keeps staring at her face without looking away. His mind shifts to another scene where Kiju is being bullied by older seniors, and he thinks about how he is always treated like a toy by bullies who play with him whenever they want. They all start making fun of him, but Kiju follows their orders like a puppet, and when they hit him, he takes the beating quietly as if he is their servant. After that, one of the bullies tries to choke Kiju by trapping his neck between his arm tightly and cutting off his air, but the girl in front of him asks Kiju accusingly if he is staring at her legs like a freak creepily and making her uncomfortable. Seeing that, the girl's boyfriend gets furious and hits Kiju's head hard with his fist, and then after that initial hit, they all beat him up however they wanted without any mercy. The girl's boyfriend and other bullies kept beating him for hours relentlessly, but just like that, unfortunately, Kiju's days go by miserably in pain and suffering. One day, he realizes a shocking truth that he has no girlfriend because he is a loser and unpopular with girls, but at the same time he realizes that there's no loser who actually has a girlfriend in the first place anyway, so he made up his mind determinedly that at his new school he will get a girlfriend first before anything else becomes his priority. On his very first day, Kiju runs into a girl who returns his phone and leaves, but Kiju stops her, trying to say something. However, he couldn't gather the courage to say anything directly to her, so the girl decides to leave the area, but then suddenly, Kiju asks her if she can be his girlfriend nervously. It turns out, the girl couldn't hear anything he said because a bus was passing by at the same time loudly when he confessed his feelings to her. The girl then says confused that she is going to leave now because there is nothing important that he has to say to her apparently. However, Kiju starts acting like a freak stalker and follows her everywhere she goes throughout the day, but at one point, the girl gets furious and frustrated and asks angrily why he is following her around like this. Kiju then asks her nervously if she can be his girlfriend, but instead of saying anything, the girl starts beating him up violently, saying she really hates weaklings like him who can't stand up for themselves. Sometime later, the girl's father comes outside to meet her after her training ends, but he suddenly notices Kiju lying on the ground nearby. At first, he thought Kiju might be a bad guy, especially because the girl punches him earlier, so he becomes cautious. He walks closer to Kiju, which scares Kiju and makes him feel nervous and uneasy. However, instead of hitting him or getting angry, the man calmly asks Kiju if he would like to try becoming a boxer. That moment becomes the turning point in Kiju's life, as it is when he officially starts his journey as a boxer. After that, Kiju joins the boxing gym owned by the girl's father, where the girl also comes often to train. During training sessions, instead of focusing fully on his own practice, Kiju keeps finding himself staring at her physique without realizing it. From that point on, Kiju begins to like boxing more, slowly thinking of it as the greatest sport in his life. Because of this, he starts showing even more interest, effort, and passion for boxing than he ever does before. The girl asks her dad curiously how boxing training is going for Kiju, so he tells her honestly that if things stay the same and he keeps improving, it would be perfect for his development. Some days later, some bullies enter Kiju's classroom like usual to collect some money from the students for their own goods and expenses, and if someone tries not to pay them, then they are going to beat them up severely. The guys then walk inside arrogantly, saying they should pay more this month than last time, so that they can stay safe from harm, but the girl who was with Kiju calls them stupid for saying that and demanding money. One of the bullies hears that insult and asks the girl named Saman angrily what she just said to them, but she asks him back if he is feeling guilty about something and doing wrong. Hearing that, the bully gets furious and moves his hand to hit her, but Saman once again asks him if he thinks he is really that capable that she can hit her. The guy then starts shivering because he knows that if he does, she is going to beat him up. Instead of beating her, the guy puts his hand over Saman's shoulder and asks if he still lives with her disabled father. He then tries his best to provoke her anyhow, so she takes the initiative and hits him. After that, the bully grabs a pack of juice and pours it all over Saman's face, watching that everyone in the class gets shocked. At that moment, Kiju appears suddenly and asks the bullies what kind of mess they are making in someone else's classroom and disrupting things. The bully then gets angry and approaches Kiju threateningly, asking if he really told someone like him to shut up and stay quiet. Kiju thinks to himself that as a boxer, he didn't want to fight here in the classroom, but seeing Saman getting harassed by them, he can't just sit and watch it happen. However, Saman wonders why he keeps staring at her instead of the bullies, but then suddenly, Kiju just winks at her to make sure that she doesn't worry about anything happening. Just then at that moment, one of the bullies moves to punch Kiju, but with one jab in the air demonstrating his skill, the bully starts shivering with fear. Kiju throws a second jab with force that swings hard, but instead of hitting the guy in front of him, he hits the locker accidentally and freaks out immediately. The impact of the punch is so strong and powerful that Kiju's entire arm turns red and swollen, and he feels like his arm is crushed and broken. Saman, watching everything, thinks to herself that Kiju is just an idiot who is just here to show off by himself without thinking. However, the other students in the class think differently, that Kiju is so strong that he managed to explode the locker with one punch. Furthermore, they talk amongst themselves about how they thought it was the bully whose head got exploded from the punch, but it turns out it was just the locker that got destroyed. On the other hand, Kiju is feeling absolutely terrible physically because he wonders that the coach allowed him to hit the sandbag starting today for the first time, but since he is just a 3-month boxing rookie with no experience, he couldn't do much damage and now his hand hurts badly from the impact. He then decides to control his emotions carefully, so that it doesn't look like he is weak in front of everyone watching. He then glares at the bully intensely, who immediately gets scared and intimidated, so the bully makes an excuse quickly that today is his grandfather's memorial service and that Kiju should consider himself lucky because he was holding back as it was his grandfather's memorial and he didn't want to fight. After that, the bully leaves the class, but one of his partners stops him, asking when did his grandfather die for there to be a memorial for him. Hearing that, the bully tries to shut him up quickly, but deep down he is scared and terrified as he had to make such a terrible excuse to escape. Kiju is still in the same position as before, frozen, which makes the other students wonder why he keeps doing that and staying still, and they think that he hit so hard that now he can't even take his hand off the locker door. However, Kiju tries to hold on a bit longer and endure the pain because Saman is watching him, and if he takes out his hand and shows his weak side, then she is not going to date him ever or give him a chance. Later that day, everyone talks excitedly in the class group chat about Kiju beating some bullies and standing up to them. They all then wonder curiously if Kiju was top fighter at his previous school as well, and some even say that they even saw Kiju coming out of the boxing gym recently for training. Soon after that incident, the atmosphere of the entire school completely changes when Kiju is around them, and this time the way they look at him is completely different. The next day, Kiju visits a hospital for a checkup where the doctor tells him to avoid heavy exercises and boxing for a while because he has something called a cast. Kiju feels bad that he has to take a break from boxing for a while, and it's all because he hit the locker that day. However, the main cause of this was because it was his first time hitting a person, so he put too much force into it that made his muscles tense and his balance off. He then wonders if he should try sparring instead but it would be too much Oswell. He then gets back to the gym to inform Saman's dad about the situation, but after hearing that Kiju is going to rest for a month, he freaks out. He then yells at Kiju and asks if he doesn't know how important this time it is, but Kiju has no idea what he is even talking about. Saman's dad then goes crazy, saying he has to pay the loan and there is the gym rent to pay Oswell, but all he must do is by making Kiju a good fighter and get paid for that. He then tells Kiju that there is a match coming up soon, but then Saman arrives and says that Kiju is not Thomas Burns, so he can't suddenly pull off something like a flicker jab. Hearing that, Saman's dad tells him seriously to use this opportunity to show that his left hand isn't just decoration or for show. It turns out, Thomas Burns was a legendary boxer who dominated 5 weight classes from welterweight to light heavyweight divisions, and his trademark is a powerful move that confuses the opponents badly, and it's known as the flicker jab technique. Saman's dad then tells Kiju that starting today he will turn his left jab into a lethal weapon for fighting, because he sees Thomas Burns in him and his potential. Kiju then wonders to himself that there isn't just one way to get strong in boxing and build skills, and now he is going to use his left hand to give it a try and develop it. After that day, Kiju begins special training that focuses only on making his left jab stronger, and he spends almost every moment he is awake following this hard training routine without taking real breaks. Saman's father thinks to himself that it has been nearly 20 years since he has been running this gym and training fighters, and during all those years, he has met countless people, yet he has never seen anyone with this level of focus and dedication before. He then strictly warns Kiju to never take his hands out of his pockets and to never get into fights or hit anyone outside the boxing ring again. Meanwhile, the same bullies from before question Kyungtae, asking if he backed down the previous day just because his grandfather is still alive. Hearing that insult, Kyungtae gets furious and tries to take his anger out at the guy saying it, but the others try to stop them from fighting. After that confrontation, Kyungtae gets even more furious as it's all because of Kiju that he has to face such insults and humiliation. Kyungtae even overhears his friends talking about how nobody has ever seen Kiju fight for real in action, and despite that he managed to beat down Kyungtae easily and make him look weak. After that, Kyungtae completely loses control and pulls out a blade, loudly claiming that he is about to prove who the real man is in this place. The other boys start talking in a worried way to one of their friends, saying that Kyungtae has clearly lost his mind and that this could turn into something much worse if he stabs someone and seriously hurts them. However, a boy named Wang Yu, who is a second-year student at Songseal High School, says that they should just leave Kyungtae alone, believing that watching what happens next will be entertaining. Not long after, Kyungtae forcefully bursts into Kiju's classroom while holding the knife, but Saman wonders if he doesn't ever get tired of doing all this. Without any hesitation, he rushes straight toward Kiju, leaving everyone in the room completely shocked and frozen in place. Meanwhile, Kiju sits at his desk. That makes Kyungtae becomes more furious, so he grabs the knife and moves forward towards Kiju, yelling that he is going to finish him off. Saman feels shocked when she sees the bully make his attack on Kiju. A hand stops the attacker's hit at the last second before it lands. To everyone's surprise, it is one of Kyungtae's friends who stops him from attacking Kiju. The person who stopped him tells Kyungtae that they are in trouble now, but then Kiju takes the box cutter from the person and asks what is going on. A student says that not a single drop of blood came out of him and asks how he can be like that. The friend who stopped the attack is sweating, not knowing what to do. Even Saman seems scared by the young man's change in behavior, and then Kiju starts walking slowly towards the bully standing there. The class representative stands up and yells that if he goes further, it is going to be a crime, but the young man does not listen to her warning and throws the knife with great aim. Feeling confused, the attacker does not understand what Kiju did. With a smile, Kiju gives the knife back and asks if it belongs to him. The attacker's friend turns pale and tries to make the situation calm and says he is sorry as they were playing around and made a mistake. Kiju smiles at them and tells them to be more careful next time. In the hallway, some students talk about going to the arcade, but then Kiju stops in front of a wall and sees a flashy poster hanging there. The poster shows an advertisement for the regional boxing championship that his coach talked about. With a confident smile, he realizes that this is his big chance and he pictures himself as a great world champion holding the championship belt. In his head, the crowd screams his name and claps for him like he is a true idol. He thinks that for someone like Thomas, it would be easy, but for him, it is not, and Kiju believes that if he beats the bullies in the tournament, they will give him respect. He stays focused on his goal of becoming strong, but then, a cat shows up and looks at him. Kiju picks up the small cat and the cat seems to like being held by him. With a smile, he hugs the animal and asks himself if the cat lives around the school. Then a boy with different looking hair shows up with a smile and calls the little kitten over, and Kiju realizes that the little animal has an owner. However, the small cat changes its mood and looks angry. The kitten jumps out of Kiju's arms, which makes him feel surprised. At the gym, the coach yells at Kiju and demands to know if he has lost his mind completely. The man asks if Kiju really wants to enter the championship tournament against experienced fighters. The coach feels desperate about his student's stubborn determination while he retreats to his office and slams his hand against the table in frustration. He believes the kid suffers from overconfidence and will end up getting hurt badly in the ring. The director remembers his financial troubles with rent payments and mounting loan debts that keep piling up. He tries to convince Kiju to reconsider by pointing out his injured hand, but Kiju smiles and asks if the coach forgot about Thomas Burns and the important job opportunity. The cast will come off in 2 weeks, which gives him enough time to prepare for the tournament. The man explains that someone with Kiju's potential should not waste time in such minor competitions, comparing it to Ronaldo playing in a youth football league. Kiju considers the coach's words carefully and admits the comparison makes logical sense when he thinks about it. The principal jumps in and insists that students should avoid getting involved in dangerous amateur fights. Kiju cuts him off with a pointed look and explains that every worthwhile journey must begin with a single step from the lowest point. The coach realizes he cannot change the young man's mind no matter what arguments he presents. The director accepts defeat and decides to let Kiju pursue this dangerous path on his own terms. He announces that intensive training begins immediately if Kiju remains committed to this decision. Kiju responds with enthusiasm and flashes a thumb-up gesture toward his coach. The man orders him to complete 30,000 rope jumps as the starting exercise for his brutal training regimen. For weeks pass quickly and the boxing gym door swings open to reveal 2 unfamiliar men entering the facility. Kiju stops his rope jumping routine and tries to figure out who these strangers are and why they came. The first man introduces himself as the director of a neighboring gym and asks about the location of Kiju's trainer. Kiju explains with a polite smile that his coach stepped out temporarily and should return soon. The visiting director expresses frustration about not calling ahead before making the trip across town. The boy mentions that his colleague came along to find sparring partners and gain valuable combat experience. The director scans the empty gym and realizes nobody else is available to help with proper training sessions. The visitor turns his attention to Kiju and suggests he should spar with the colleague standing beside him. Kiju processes the unexpected invitation and realizes this will serve as his first genuine combat training experience outside of practice drills, and he grows excited about testing all the techniques and strategies he developed during the past month of intense preparation. The 2 fighters circle each other cautiously in the center while studying movement patterns and defensive postures. Kiju reminds himself to maintain composure and avoid letting adrenaline override his tactical thinking. He observes that his opponent lacks professional training and appears to be an ordinary amateur fighter without special skills. Kiju pushes aside his nervousness and commits to treating this like any other training exercise. The opponent suddenly launches forward with a devastating punch that cuts through the air toward Kiju's face. Kiju gets shocked as the attack arrives much faster than he anticipated during his mental preparation. The blow connects solidly against his helmet and sends a jarring impact reverberating through his skull. He recognizes through the ringing in his ears that the punch came from the opponent's rear hand in a classic power shot. Kiju wastes no time recovering and immediately fires back with a sharp and precise jab aimed at the opponent's guard. The boy ducks under the strike at the last possible moment and slips past Kiju's extended arm. Using the opening created by Kiju's missed punch, the opponent charges forward to deliver another crushing blow. Kiju marvels at successfully evading an attack during actual combat instead of controlled practice sessions. The visiting director watches with visible surprise as Kiju demonstrates defensive skills beyond his apparent experience level. Kiju spots a momentary weakness in the opponent's protective stance and rushes forward to capitalize on the opportunity. Something completely unexpected happens that leaves Kiju frozen in confusion and disbelief about what unfolds before him. The opponent absorbs Kiju's punch directly with his face without attempting to dodge or deflect the strike. The impact sends Kiju stumbling backward while his mind struggles to comprehend the bizarre defensive tactic. The visiting director screams instructions at his fighter to maintain constant forward pressure without giving Kiju a breathing room. Kiju absorbs another hit and realizes these punches travel faster than his training prepared for him to handle. The opponent closes distance again before Kiju can recover properly, forcing him to raise both arms defensively. A relentless barrage of punches rains down while Kiju desperately attempts to block or deflect each incoming strike. The opposing fighter maintains his aggressive assault without pausing or retreating to create safe distance. Kiju's mind flashes back to his coach's lessons about identifying the perfect moment to counterattack effectively. The opponent from the neighboring gym reaches the peak of his current punching motion with his arm fully extended. Kiju allows himself a moment of satisfaction after landing his first successful jab in competitive sparring. He shifts his stance and prepares to unleash his finishing technique to end this match decisively. Kiju channels every ounce of strength into his powerful flicker jab designed to overwhelm his opponent's defenses. The visiting director watches and notes how quickly Kiju learned to imitate advanced techniques. The opponent responds by sacrificing his body as a shield to absorb the full force of Kiju's finishing move. Kiju's confidence wavers as he realizes a devastating counterattack is building in response to his aggressive play. The opponent predicted Kiju's finishing sequence and positioned himself perfectly to deliver a punishing response. After that, Kiju and his opponent entered a head-to-head showdown where both of them kept trading punches without backing down. Kiju suddenly manages to land a clean punch straight on his opponent's face, and this surprises even himself because even though the punch is small, it lands clearly once again. As soon as that happens, goosebumps spread across his body because he cannot believe that he finally throws a proper jab like that, and he even jokingly wonders if he might have been Thomas Burns in a past life. Kiju becomes filled with excitement and starts thinking that all the hard work he puts in was not useless, and it feels like he might actually win this sparring match. Meanwhile, Saman's father is busy collecting payments from an office and thinks that if Kiju had quit boxing, then this payment would have been delayed by now. As he looks around the area, he starts wondering if Kyeolsung's boxing gym is somewhere nearby. Soon after, he arrives at Kyeolsung's boxing gym and immediately notices that the place is extremely crowded. Every person inside looks busy, constantly moving and practicing different boxing skills without taking breaks. Seeing this, Saman's father begins to wonder why this gym is so full of people while his own gym feels empty and quiet with barely anyone coming in. As he stands there thinking, a man named Django walks up to him. Saman's father asks Django if the coach is currently inside the gym, but Django replies that their coach has gone to a place called Champion Boxing. He also explains that the coach takes one trainee with him to that location for sparring practice. Hearing that, Saman's dad becomes surprised because the Champion's boxing gym is actually the very same gym that he owns. So now he starts wondering to himself about why the coach would even go there to his gym without bothering to contact them beforehand. He then realizes that at this time, there is only one guy at the gym and that is Kiju, so he quickly runs towards his gym. At the same time, Kiju is lying on the ring when Saman asks him what happened to his face, but at the same time, Saman's dad also arrives. He sees Kiju crying in the ring, telling Saman that he doesn't have any talent, and he is thinking about quitting boxing, but then, Saman's dad quickly runs in the ring and pushes Saman aside, telling Kiju that he can't quit. After some time, Saman's dad proceeds to tell him about the guy that he ended up losing to, explaining that this person is actually well known as the Fiery Fist of Dunsan throughout the area. He also mentions that this guy was very close to being recruited by some dangerous gangsters all the way back when he was still in middle school, so because of all these facts, losing to someone like him really wasn't Kiju's fault at all in any way. Saman then makes an attempt to carefully apply some medicine onto Kiju's wound, and while doing this she asks him a curious question about how he even managed to get all of these different bruises and injuries on his body when he was supposed to be wearing protective headgear on his head during the fight. But instead of answering her question right away, Kiju just quietly stares at her really beautiful face and starts to get all shy and embarrassed inside. However, Saman's dad says something else, mentioning that the guy who Kiju lost earlier actually has some pretty far-reaching connections with the famous boxer Pacquiao as well, which makes the situation even more impressive. After that, Saman takes notice of Kiju's shoes on his feet and asks him directly if he actually fought with these particular shoes on during the match, because she believes that's probably the main reason why he got slipped on the floor and ended up hurting his knee badly like this. Hearing that, Saman's dad quickly tells Kiju that this was his problem and tries to explain that boxing is all about the feet, and because he is wearing running shoes, he ended up losing. Saman also adds that her dad is right because he has to wear boxing shoes when he is sparring, and it's just as important as wearing soccer shoes for soccer and basketball shoes for basketball. In the end, both of them then tell Kiju that if his lower body isn't stable, he will always be at a disadvantage, so he should hurry up and get boxing shoes. Saman even mentions that if he has no idea how to choose, she can pick out for him, but Kiju gets all shy and thinks that this might be his first date with Saman. He then imagines himself and Saman going out to buy shoes for him and then spending the day together like how usually couples do. Right after that, he quickly asks Saman about when exactly they can go out together to buy some new shoes for him to use. But then Saman's dad immediately tells him that they don't even have to bother going out anywhere for that specific purpose, and he shows him a picture on his phone that has different shoes displayed on it, telling him that he can just pick them out right here. Despite this offer, Kiju tries his absolute best to convince him that he actually made a promise to Saman earlier that he would definitely go out with her to shop for the shoes together. Saman's dad simply responds by telling him that Saman will still be able to help him pick out the right shoes even without going out to the store in person. Later that night, Kiju ends up buying a pair of really expensive shoes, and this whole situation happens all because of the strong influence from Saman's father, which makes him incredibly furious. The next day, Kiju starts his practice session with his brand new shoes already on his feet, and he can already feel the noticeable difference in his performance right away. While practicing, he then happens to notice that Saman is getting herself ready inside the ring area, so because of this he asks her dad a question about whether or not she is going to spar with someone today. Saman's dad responds back to him by telling him that she is definitely going to try sparring today, so he should watch very closely attention to everything and learn. Despite hearing this, Kiju still wonders about how exactly she is going to spar with a guy opponent, and as it turns out when he finds out, the guy that she is going to be sparring with today happens to be really arrogant and full of himself. This guy starts making fun of Saman, saying very confidently that she can't possibly hit a man no matter how much effort she tries to put in or how hard she works at it. Kiju gets extremely furious inside, thinking to himself that this arrogant guy is clearly underestimating Saman's abilities and skills in a disrespectful manner. After that, the bell rings and the spar session between the two fighters officially begins in the ring. Right at the very start of the match, the guy immediately punches Saman directly in the face with force, and he just doesn't stop with only one single punch but instead keeps attacking her relentlessly without giving her any break. While seeing all of that happening, Kiju starts to think in his mind that it's really hard to overcome a man's physical strength just as he originally thought it would be. But then Saman's dad tells him to keep watching the match continue because he really needs to learn this particular technique too for his own development. However, Kiju wonders what kind of technique he is talking about, so he looks at the ring. After that, Saman finally decides to show off her ultimate move as a finishing blow, and when the arrogant guy tries to punch her once again, she very quickly moves aside to dodge it and then punches him extremely hard directly on his face with all her power, sending him flying backward through the air. Because of that single powerful strike, the guy falls down completely unconscious on the ground and doesn't move at all, but Kiju is still standing there feeling very surprised and shocked, wondering inside his confused mind about what exactly just happened in front of his eyes during those few seconds. After winning the match, Saman then takes off her protective headgear from her head, and when she does this, she ends up looking even more prettier and more beautiful than she usually is on a normal day. Saman's father tries to tell her that she really should have gotten easier and gone softer on the guy instead of just throwing such a powerful and devastating punch directly at his face like that without holding back. After saying that to his daughter, he then turns around and tells Kiju something important, explaining that this move right here is exactly what the ultimate technique he was talking about earlier actually is, so from this point forward and from now on he really needs to learn this technique as well for himself. However, Kiju asks the coach how she even managed to pull it off, as to him it looked like she just disappeared in midair and then reappeared. The coach then asks him a direct question about if he really wants him to teach him that particular technique or not, but Kiju just angrily glares at him with an intense look without saying anything back. After that, the coach begins to explain, saying that the core of the technique is actually the step movement, and when the opponent's counterattack is coming toward them, they have to slip back just about the exact distance of a fist in measurement, and when the opponent's attack ends, they have to throw the counter punch back at them with a really sharp jab for maximum effect. After hearing all of that detailed explanation, Kiju thinks back in his mind about his earlier sparring match with the coach from another gym, and he suddenly realizes something important, understanding that at that specific time during the fight, his own punch didn't connect very well at all and he was the only one who got hit badly while his opponent stayed safe. Saman's father asks Kiju if he truly understands what he means after giving him such a long explanation, but he becomes shocked when he sees that Kiju is already full of excitement and is clearly eager to learn that powerful finishing move as soon as possible. After finishing his explanation, the coach tells Kiju to keep training hard and continue practicing without stopping, and he slowly starts to walk away from the area. However, before he can fully leave, Kiju suddenly stops him and asks an important question, wanting to know the real name of the move he was just shown. The coach turns back and calmly tells Kiju that the move is called suckback in their language, but Kiju keeps thinking to himself and wonders if the move has an official name that is used more widely by others. 1 month later, Kiju successfully masters the finishing move, and now there are only 3 days left before the match finally begins. The coach then tells Kiju something important about managing his physical condition well from this point forward and from now on in his training, and after hearing that advice, Kiju decides to go and take a shower to clean himself up. At that exact moment while this is happening, Saman tells her dad, who is currently busy playing a video game on his device, that she is going to go and clean the shower area right now, not knowing at all or having any idea that Kiju is already there using it. Saman then opens the door to the shower room and finds Kiju standing right there completely shirtless in front of her, showing off his really ripped physique that immediately makes Saman blush with embarrassment. She quickly tells him to be quick and finish up soon, and then she leaves the area as fast as she can. Once she gets outside of the shower room, she starts to wonder about when exactly did Kiju get so incredibly good looking and attractive with such a nice body, but then suddenly, her dad asks her a question about what is she doing just standing there in that spot looking distracted. Because of his question, she gets really mad at him and tells him to go and clean the shower himself if he cares so much about it. Later that night, Kiju and Saman walk home together side by side, and as they move forward, Kiju mentions how the two of them seem to go places together much more often these days compared to before, but Saman stays quiet and does not reply right away. Soon after, both of them speak at the exact same time, which only makes the moment feel even more awkward between them. Kiju then tells her to speak first, so Saman gently says that he should take better care of his body. Right after that, Kiju responds by saying that the boxing shoes he is wearing are actually pretty good. Suddenly, they notice Kyungtae and his group laughing and playing around near a punching machine, and Kyungtae soon spots them and asks if the two of them are on a date. Hearing that question, Kiju gives an awkward smile and quickly explains that the situation is not like a date at all, saying that they are simply walking back home together like they normally do. At the same time, Kyungtae asks his friend standing next to him if they should tease them a little bit, to which the guy also gets really excited about the idea of messing with them. Kyungtae then asks Kiju directly if he wants to try the one-punch machine as well to see if he can possibly break his current record that he set before. Kiju tries his best to say no to the offer, but Kyungtae just doesn't take no for an answer and pushes him towards the machine. Kyungtae's friends tell him that Kyungtae holds the record of the most points here at this machine, so watching this competition is going to be really interesting and entertaining to see. One of the guys then chimes in and says something else, mentioning that just doing it normally would be pretty boring and not fun, and so they should make things more exciting by doing a bet on the outcome instead. But hearing this, Kiju gets interested, so he asks him about what kind of bet they are talking about, to which Kyungtae explains that the one who loses this challenge will have to be the bread shuttle for an entire month and deliver it exactly at lunchtime every single day. Afterward, Kiju adjusts his feet and gets ready for the hit, getting himself ready to throw the strongest punch that he can possibly throw. One of the attackers starts laughing and asks if Kiju is really planning to hit the machine with such a weird-looking shape. The other attacker agrees with what his friend says and makes fun of Kuji, saying that everyone can clearly see that this young guy has never done anything like this before in his life. One of them keeps laughing and says that if the young man ends up hurting his wrist from throwing such a bad punch, then it is definitely not going to be his problem to deal with or worry about at all. Feeling worried about what might happen, Saman asks out loud what is going to happen if Kiju hurts his wrist right before the important fight is supposed to happen. Kyungtae attacker responds by telling them that if Kiju manages to get hurt from doing something as easy as this, then he really should not even think about fighting in the actual match. However, Kiju reminds himself in his head to be very careful not to bend his wrist in the wrong way when he throws his punch at the machine. He then stares right at the punching machine and thinks to himself that the machine's front part is actually the face of his opponent that he needs to beat. Using all of the strength and power that he has, the young fighter throws his punch forward towards the machine with everything he has. The strong blow hits the target right in the center with a loud impact that makes an echo that goes throughout the entire street where they are standing. The scoreboard then shows and displays a really good score of 988, but in real life, his actual score is only 450, which is way below the record that was made before. The boys then start laughing and ask if Kiju went easy on the machine on purpose or if he was holding back his strength. One of them says that he is totally counting on getting his free bread for the next few days as payment for winning the bet they made. Saman asks the attackers why they are getting themselves involved in this whole thing if the bet was only made with Kiju and nobody else was part of it. Suddenly, a bunch of crazy numbers start appearing on the punch machine screen all at the same time. The scoreboard suddenly goes wild and tells Kiju that he just made a really good new record that nobody has ever seen before. Kiju grabs and holds his wrist carefully and asks himself if that really high score is actually his own score. The attackers ask him if his pulse and wrist are feeling okay and they look really shocked by what they just saw happening. Kiju says that everything is totally fine and that the punch did not hurt him even a little bit. Kyungtae then says that they should not worry about anything and that they should just put all of them in the bet that was made earlier. With a mean and sneaky smile on his face, he says that the girl named Saman could maybe help Kiju pay off all of the money from the bet. Feeling angry, Saman looks right at the boys and Kiju quickly asks her to calm down and not get too upset about it. The attacker then laughs and asks what the real problem is because it is just a stupid and silly bet that does not really matter. But Kiju starts thinking that maybe he can practice and try out his slip bang to move trick right there where they are standing. With that, the punching machine's whole body starts to rock back and forth in an unstable way. He seems to have just gotten a really good idea about how to use his special move in the right way. In his head, he starts imagining the opponent from the other school moving forward to attack him in an aggressive way. Then he pictures himself moving back at the very last second and avoiding the attack exactly like his trainer showed him how to do it. Then he imagines himself attacking back with a really strong punch and the machine scoreboard going completely crazy with all kinds of numbers. One of the boys asks what they are supposed to do now in this kind of situation, and the angry attacker tells him to be quiet right away. The bully says that it was just a simple bet and that none of it really happened or matters for anything. Saman steps forward into the talk and reminds the boy that she also wants her free bread as payment for the bet they made. The attacker looks really scared and starts sweating in a nervous way, not knowing at all how to answer her or what to say. Then the young woman turns around and tells him that he should ask his friends for help if he cannot pay right at that moment. Saman holds Kiju's hand really tight and tells him to leave the area with her. The young man cannot say anything but follows her anyway as she pulls him by the hand down the street away from where they were. The two of them walk hand in hand together, and he worries in his head about his bag that he left behind somewhere. Finally, the day of the competition arrives, and we can see the event's big and wide gymnasium building. Inside the place, many boxers are already working hard to prepare themselves for the big tournament that is about to start. Then the camera moves its view to the sign that is pointing towards the athletes' locker room area. Inside the locker room, Saman and her dad seem to be looking around everywhere for Kiju, who has not shown up yet. The man feels really worried because Saman tells him that the boy is not picking up his phone at all. The young woman keeps trying over and over to call him, but Kiju does not answer the phone at all no matter how many times she calls. Feeling desperate, the man puts both of his hands on his head and asks where Kiju has gone to at such an important time like this. Suddenly, the locker room door opens really wide and a man walks into the room in a hurry. He then says that he needs to check Kuji's participation in the tournament right away. Feeling nervous, the coach says that Kiju is almost there and nicely asks the man to wait just a little bit longer for him. The organizer looks down at his watch to check what time it is and asks what is going to happen if the young person does not show up on time. The director tries his best to make the organizer feel calm and tells him that his student is not the kind of person to do something like that and will for sure arrive very soon. The man tells them that if Kiju does not arrive within the next 10 minutes, he is going to be kicked out of the tournament automatically. With this shocking news, the two of them feel completely shocked and do not know what to do about what is happening. The man asks if Kiju has answered his cell phone yet at all. Saman starts to feel increasingly worried and asks herself if something bad has happened to him that is stopping him from getting there. At the same time, Kiju's cell phone keeps ringing over and over inside his training bag without him being able to hear it. He looks out the window of the car and realizes that he is stuck in a really big traffic jam that is not moving at all. Feeling desperate about getting there on time, Kiju asks the driver to please go a little faster if he can, but the driver tells him that the road is completely stopped and there is no way at all to move quicker. Kiju looks down at his watch and sees that he needs to get to the gymnasium by exactly 3 o'clock without being late. The taxi driver then tells him that he had better hurry up because there are only 3 kilometers left to go. Kiju right away gets out of the taxi and the man yells something about the change that Kiju still owes him. His feet hit the ground really hard and he right away starts running towards where he needs to go. Kiju runs as fast as he can possibly run. He then keeps running without stopping with his bag on his back without slowing down even one little bit. He thinks to himself that he is going to make it on time for sure and that all of his training is going to be worth it in the end. With no time at all to waste, he keeps running down the street at full speed towards the gymnasium building where the tournament is. Kiju runs straight towards the gym as fast as his legs can carry him because he is running out of time and doesn't want to be late for the important tournament. He then runs as fast as he possibly can with all his energy and strength because he really wants all that intense endurance training as he finally paid off and showed its value in this critical moment. At the same time, the official person in charge gets furious at Saman and her dad, asking them why Kiju hadn't arrived here, yet when he was supposed to be here already. Despite that, they try their absolute best to convince him that Kiju can come here and arrive anytime now without much delay and that he is probably right around the corner very close by, so he should just wait a little bit longer. Hearing that, the official tries to think in his frustrated mind that he should just declare it a forfeit right now and move on with the tournament schedule without waiting anymore. He leaves the room where they are standing and grabs the list of participants in his hand, where he almost cuts Kiju's name off the list completely, considering him officially absent from the competition. At that moment, Kiju suddenly appears out of nowhere in the distance, running towards them like he is completely out of breath and exhausted from sprinting. He then runs straight towards them with determination to make it on time, but unfortunately his foot just twists in a bad way, causing him to crash down badly and painfully on the hard ground in front of everyone watching. Seeing that, the official wonders if Kiju is dead, but Saman's dad quickly grabs him and starts acting like Kiju has made it here safely even though he didn't, and he is not the type to forfeit the match. Despite that, Saman wonders if he is okay to compete, because he doesn't even look like he can stand here properly on his own 2 feet without falling over. The official person in charge then asks a concerned question about if he can really compete and fight in that terrible state he is currently in, but Kiju quickly says that he can fight no matter what. The official then wonders about what is happening with Kiju's eyes because they look strange and unusual, and then after observing him for a moment, he leaves the area to attend to other matters. After that, Saman's dad tries his best to lift Kiju up from where he is sitting or standing, but as soon as he does this, Kiju just starts vomiting suddenly, so because he quickly tells Saman to go and get a bucket right away for him. Later on during that same day when they arrive at the boxing tournament event, Saman's dad tells Kiju something really important, saying to remember all the hard training he did for today's big moment, because he has worked so much harder than anyone else in the gym, and he honestly doesn't think he has ever seen anyone work harder or put in more effort than him in all his years of coaching. On top of that, he also thinks that today is finally the time to see all the results of that hard work pay off, so he should just believe in himself and his abilities completely without any doubt. Afterward, the referee then calls out for both the fighters to get on the stage. Kiju then enters the ring along with his opponent to prepare for the match, but Saman's dad immediately tells him some important strategic advice. He explains that his opponent is an infighter type of boxer, so he should always keep his distance from him and hit him when he has an opening, then move out quickly before getting caught. Despite this, it looks like Kiju appears completely exhausted and physically drained, and his body is shivering uncontrollably from the intense run he just did. Seeing that, Saman wonders that it looks like Kiju's legs have no strength left in them anymore, and he is also sweating way too much for someone who is about to fight in an important match. The referee person then calls out both fighters to get to the front of the ring and prepare themselves, but after seeing Kiju's horrible physical condition up close, Saman's dad thinks that they actually should have wished that Kiju got here late instead, because he wouldn't be sweating this much and be in such bad shape if he had arrived late. The boxing match then officially starts with the loud crowd of people starts cheering for Kiju to do well, but as it turns out, he still hasn't caught his breath back yet. Kiju's opponent thinks inside his own mind that it looks like a walking corpse is fighting with him on the ring instead of a real boxer, but then, he immediately starts hitting Kiju straight on with powerful punches to his body and face. The aggressive guy then continues to attack Kiju non-stop, and this relentless assault surprises everyone watching in the audience and even makes Kiju get pushed back toward the ropes defensively. From outside the ring where he is standing, Saman's dad shouts at Kiju with great urgency to not get trapped in the circle corner area and to turn around quickly before it becomes too late for him to escape. While trying to defend himself, Kiju thinks desperately inside his exhausted mind that he can't keep up with his opponent's fast movements at all, and he realizes that if he pushes himself way too hard right before the match even really gets going, he might completely fall apart. During this difficult moment, Kiju then feels the enormous pressure of fighting in the first match of the tournament, along with the terrible strain on his stamina and energy levels, and to somehow overcome all this overwhelming pressure that is crushing him, he knows he has to do something effective right now, but the problem is that he is just way too exhausted and drained to execute anything properly. Right at that moment, the opponent charges straight towards Kiju with a powerful punch that will destroy him and knock him out cold if it connects, but from the sidelines, Saman yells out loudly at Kiju to calm himself down. After hearing that, Kiju suddenly remembered what Saman's father told him earlier during their training sessions. The coach explains that when the opponent counterattack comes toward him, he must slip back by exactly the length of one fist, not more and not less. Then, at the exact moment when the opponent's attack fully ends, that is the perfect timing to release the powerful move called sukback. Remembering that, Kiju copies the same movement his coach drills into him during practice and throws a clean counter punch that shocks everyone watching, including Saman's father, who personally teaches him the technique. However, Kiju's fist barely fails to reach the opponent because it falls short by just one fist's distance. The opponent quickly avoids the punch and immediately fires back with a counter that strikes Kiju on the chin, sending him flying backward. As soon as that, the crowd bursts into loud cheers for the opponent, praising it as a perfectly timed uppercut. Despite taking such a powerful hit, Kiju doesn't end up falling down on the ground like everyone expected, and he somehow controls his balance, which makes Saman's dad think that the match is definitely not over yet. To his great surprise, Kiju continues to get himself beaten up badly by his aggressive opponent with punch after punch, but he still tries his absolute best not to fall down on the ground at all, no matter how much pain he is feeling. Even though Kiju is showing incredible determination, Kiju's opponent doesn't stop his assault there and keeps throwing hard punches at Kiju repeatedly, trying his very best to make him finally fall down on the ground in defeat, so that he can win the match easily. At the same time, Kyungtae brings Wang Yu and another guy with him to the place where the tournament is being held, saying to them confidently that even if Kiju is reasonably strong as a fighter, he still won't be able to beat his opponent in this match today. The other guy adds his own opinion, agreeing completely that Kyungtae is absolutely right in his assessment because Kiju is just not that strong of a boxer when you really think about it. However, they also tell him some contradicting information that they heard, explaining that Kiju actually broke Kyungtae's long-standing record on the punching machine at the arcade, and that particular achievement means that he is definitely not just an ordinary weakling like they originally thought he was. After that, Wang Yu and the others entered the stadium to find Kiju fighting in the ring. Seeing that, Kyungtae gets surprised and wonders if Kiju knows how to box, but they also wonder if he's completely matched. On the other hand, Kiju's opponent then attacks him continuously that it makes him push towards the corner, but Saman's dad yells at him not to get pushed into the corner and he should get out. However, Kiju then gets all dizzy from the hits he took, and just as his opponent tries to attack him once again with another combination, he suddenly falls forward on top of him. After falling, he then completely locks himself onto the guy and holds tight, but the referee tries his absolute best to make him stop doing this and separate them because it's against the rules. Just as he finally gets separated from the guy by the referee's intervention, Kiju's vision gets extremely blurry and it feels like he can fall unconscious at any moment and collapse on the canvas. After giving them a moment to recover, the referee then tells them both to start boxing again, and then immediately the opponent starts hitting him violently again. Kiju's relentless opponent doesn't even stop for a single second to rest but keeps on hitting Kiju continuously with many different jabs and powerful uppercuts to his head and body. So because of this brutal beating, Saman tells her dad that he should give up on his dream of winning because it really looks like Kiju is completely finished and can't continue anymore. Saman's dad responds by saying that they are not so sure about this situation yet, and he thinks that Kiju might be someone who was born with incredible luck on his side that will help him survive. Kiju then thinks about an interesting fact he heard before, which is that a drunken person actually gets hurt less than a sober person in a car accident, and this happens because their body isn't rigid when taking the impact from the crash. At the same time, Kiju's opponent thinks to himself with confusion that just like that drunk person example, Kiju is moving almost on pure instinct in his extremely groggy state right now, and he wonders with disbelief that he is moving around like a zombie who doesn't know what he's doing. The frustrated guy then once again throws a powerful punch straight at Kiju to finish him off, but he just uses his raw ultra instinct ability that he didn't even know he had to dodge it at the last second, and then after that, he just slips through several other attacks as well with surprising agility. After avoiding those dangerous hits, Kiju then moves forward to attack his opponent's back and try to land something, but he once again couldn't hit him properly because his movements are too slow. After missing his attack, Kiju then gets really frustrated with himself and thinks desperately inside his foggy mind that he is totally screwed now and has no chance of winning, but then suddenly, his opponent again hits him back with another hard punch, but somehow Kiju tries his absolute best to stand properly on his weak legs and to recover from the damage. During this, Kiju's legs then lose all their strength completely, but despite that, he somehow moves forward to punch his opponent back one more time with everything he has left. Surprisingly, the punch actually hits the guy's face cleanly and powerfully with perfect accuracy, sending him flying backward through the air and crashing hard. Seeing that, everyone in the audience gets completely shocked as they think inside their minds that this outcome is totally impossible to believe, because everyone present simply can't believe at all that Kiju somehow managed to win this difficult match just like that against such a tough opponent. Kyungtae's friend turns to him and tells him that Kiju has actually beaten down his opponent and won the fight, but Kyungtae doesn't believe him at all and thinks he must be joking around. Wang Yu tells them both that he was really worried during the fight that Kiju wouldn't get a proper chance to strike back at all. After witnessing his victory, Saman's father then starts tearing up with emotion running down his face, saying that he knew deep down in his heart that Kiju would win this match just like he always believed he would. Kiju notices the person he sparred with before at the gym standing somewhere in the venue watching him. Following Kiju's victory, next up on the tournament schedule is the match between Daku, who is the same person who sparred with Kiju at the gym before, and his opponent Wang Yu, who came to watch. Kyungtae's friends, who are the same exact people that just got completely humiliated by Kiju in the previous fight, are now all gathering around Wang Yu like he is their new hope. They keep asking Wang Yu over and over if he is definitely going to win this match for sure, but Wang Yu just stays completely silent. The two fighters are now standing directly across from each other on the elevated fighting platform while everyone watches. The referee makes a clear signal to both of them, and they both step carefully into their starting positions on opposite sides. Back in the waiting room, Saman's dad and Saman are sitting together having a serious discussion about what should happen next. The coach suddenly suggests that maybe they should just give up completely the rest of the tournament. Saman immediately asks him why he would ever say something like giving up when they have come this far already. The coach points his finger directly at Kiju, who is sitting slumped over on the chair breathing heavily and looking absolutely exhausted from his last fight. He tells Saman to just look at that kid sitting over there right now and see his condition. He says that honestly speaking, it is already an absolute miracle that Kiju somehow managed to win the match he just finished fighting. Saman immediately argues back against this idea because she does not agree with giving up. The coach holds up an imaginary certificate of achievement in his hand like he can already see it. He explains that is exactly right, because even if Kiju gives up and forfeits at this point in the competition, he will still officially be the runner-up in the final standings. However, Saman looks at her father and asks him directly if that has actually been his main goal from the very beginning of all this. Saman's dad gets completely lost in his own happiness while thinking about the possibilities ahead. He imagines finally getting the gym's very first certificate of the entire year after so many failures. All of a sudden, he realizes something really important, that Kiju must have been incredibly lucky to get this far in the tournament against tough opponents, and if it is not just pure luck that got him here, then perhaps vivid images of legendary boxing champions from history start appearing in his mind one after another. At this moment, Kiju tells the coach that he will absolutely not forfeit this tournament, and he will fight in the final match no matter what anyone says. The coach tries desperately to convince him to change his mind, but Kiju has already stood up from his chair and started walking toward the door. He explains that he is going to watch the current match since it is happening right now, and he wants to see it. Kiju reaches out and opens the door before stepping into the hallway, and the scene that he sees when he looks at the arena makes him go completely speechless. It turns out, Wang Yu's opponent is already lying completely collapsed on the ground. After that, Daku managed to win the game. The coach says out loud that Daku should go easy on his opponents a little bit, and he asks why he always has to hit people so incredibly hard like that. After the match finishes, Daku starts walking over to the exact spot where Kiju is standing, and his coach tells him that his next opponent in the finals is going to be the same guy he sparred with in practice before. He explains carefully that this guy's fighting skills are definitely not ordinary or average at all. Sometime later, Kiju and Daku finally come face to face with each other and the match begins. Kiju tells himself quietly in his own mind that when it really comes down to it, the act of punching and getting punched back is not really that different from all those dark scenes he has had to face countless times before in his difficult life. The audience members are desperately waiting for an extremely exciting match that will satisfy their eyes, but Kiju is currently being tortured mercilessly, and he cannot even breathe properly anymore. Kiju's opponent Daku towers over him like a massive mountain that cannot be moved, and he does not show even the slightest bit of tiredness at all. Kiju tries his absolute best to move around and dodge, desperately trying to find some kind of escape route, but Daku does not give him even a single second to rest or recover at all, as he presses in close and tightly blocks off every single possible retreat path. A powerful hook punch suddenly breaks through Kiju's loose, and Kiju gets surprised as his entire defensive line has been completely shattered. Another follow-up punch is immediately thrown right after without any delay. Kiju crashes hard onto the floor, and Saman's father is furious because he knows very well that the gap in skill level between them is just way too enormous. The referee starts counting out as Kiju is lying there on the ground breathing heavily, desperately trying to hold on to whatever small bit of consciousness he still has remained inside him. Kiju realizes a terrifying truth about the difference between this opponent and all the others he has faced before. This guy is completely different from all those things he has dealt with in the past. In Kiju's eyes right now, Daku is not just a regular human being made of flesh and bone anymore, as he has become a moving fortress, a heavily armored knight who is covered in an incredibly strong and sturdy iron suit. Up in the spectators standing above them, the crowd is starting to lose their patience with what they are watching. They are certain that this kid absolutely cannot handle this punishment anymore and will give up soon. Even Kyungdi's friends who usually support underdogs have to shake their heads in complete disappointment. The first round finally comes to an end, and Kiju has somehow survived through it, but if you look at his current condition, he looks like he just stepped out of a meat grinder machine. Back in the blue corner, the opponent's coach seems quite relaxed about everything. He tells Daku that he did a great job and should not drag this out any longer, and he should just finish this kid off right here. From his perspective, Kiju is an easy and simple opponent to deal with, but Daku, who is the one actually throwing the punches, has completely different thoughts running through his mind. He stares intensely into empty space in front of him, with sweat rolling down his cheeks in long streams, and he mutters that this opponent is definitely not easy at all. Over in the red corner on the opposite side, Saman's dad is desperately trying to rebuild and restore Kiju's fighting spirit and confidence. He explains that this kid is on a completely different level than anyone else. Kiju admits that Guy is truly a monster, and the main problem is with the color change technique that is supposed to be Kiju's special move. Kiju wonders why it is not working properly at all. He keeps continuously trying to use the slip-in punch combination, but it always misses the target completely and is always short by a certain distance, as specifically by exactly the length of one fist. Saman's dad analyzes the situation carefully and explains that the slipping movement itself is fine and good, but the punch afterward just does not reach far enough to connect. He scratches his head in confusion and asks how on earth Kiju managed to make it work before in the previous match. And then the absolutely shocking truth is finally revealed to everyone. Kiju admits sheepishly that actually back then during that moment, his foot accidentally slipped on the canvas. So, it turns out that the legendary godly punch that knocked out his opponent in the previous round was only successful because he slipped on his foot and lunged forward by accident. The bell rings loudly to signal the start of round 2, and there is no more time left to discuss or debate about luck anymore. Saman's dad grabs Kiju by the shoulders with both hands and tells Kiju to listen very carefully to what he is about to say, because technique is not everything in fighting. The two fighters step forward to the center of the ring to face each other again. Saman's dad continues shouting after Kiju as he walks away, yelling that technique is only the foundation, and it is only a method or tool to use. Saman's dads tell Kiju to remember this one thing above all else, that technique must never be allowed to become the final goal or ultimate purpose. After getting back into the fight, Daku throws a punch directly at Kiju with full force, but he quickly moves a step back just in time and dodges it successfully. Immediately after that, he tries to throw a counter punch back at his opponent that hits Daku's face with solid contact. Seeing that, everyone in the audience gets completely shocked, and they wonder how the shot could possibly connect this time when Kiju has been struggling so much. After landing that good hit, Kiju then starts smiling with satisfaction, thinking happily inside his tired mind that he can finally connect his shots properly with Daku and actually hurt him. Suddenly, he gets punched hard in the face by a counterattack that sends him flying backward towards the rope at the edge of the ring. Right after taking that devastating hit, he falls hard on the ground once again, and he feels inside his foggy consciousness that his mind is completely blank now and he can't think straight. He thinks that it's because even though his special move technique called slip bang worked perfectly just like he practiced, he has absolutely no idea what he is supposed to do now as his next move. At the same time, Saman and her dad are also really worried for Kiju's safety, while the rest of the crowd of people watching the match thinks that that's already the second time Kiju has been knocked down hard to the canvas floor, so they wonder if he is going to get seriously hurt. On the other hand, Kyungtae starts laughing, saying to the people around him that he knew this outcome would happen all along and wasn't surprised at all, but Wang Yu, who is standing next to him, doesn't show any reaction whatsoever. After seeing Kiju get knocked down again, Saman's dad then gets really frustrated, so he quickly takes his white towel in his hand and thinks that this is too much already, so he should now go into the ring and stop Kiju from continuing to fight before he gets permanently hurt. But then, Saman suddenly grabs his arm tightly and tells him not to do anything, because they both know Kiju very well as a person, and they understand that he is someone who would do absolutely anything just to get up and keep fighting no matter what. After that, Kiju finally gets the courage to stand up despite his entire body hurting badly. Seeing that, everyone gets shocked and wonders how he could stand in such a terrible state. The referee asks Kiju if he can continue fighting, so he tells him loudly that he is going to keep fighting him. Hearing that, Daku gets frustrated, so he looks at his coach, who also looks mad at Daku for not ending the match already. Daku quickly charges straight towards Kiju, but he manages to throw a punch at him first, which Daku successfully dodges by moving his body to the side at the last second. He then hits Kiju with an extremely powerful uppercut to the chin that is so incredibly strong that it gives shivers to everyone watching in the audience. Following that, Kiju then falls down hard on his knees on the canvas and he starts tearing up because the shot was so painful that it hurts him so much. In a flashback, Saman asks Kiju why he pushes himself this far by choosing to become a boxer and why he keeps putting his body through so much pain even though he clearly hates getting hurt. Kiju looks at her for a moment and gives a small, quiet smile before answering honestly. He explains that in his entire life, this is the very first time he truly feels like he is standing up for himself and fighting back against the harsh situation he is born into. He tells her that he does not want to go back to being a nobody like he was before boxing, someone who gets bullied every single day, someone who is ignored, unloved, and treated as if he does not matter by everyone around him. For Kiju, boxing becomes the one thing that finally makes him feel like his sad and lonely life is starting to change for the better. Because of these strong feelings, he truly believes deep down that the main reason he is boxing and putting himself through all this pain is because in that ring during a match, everyone's equal to each other regardless of their background or status. Back to the present, Kiju once again gets up from the canvas even though his entire body is shivering and he doesn't even have much strength left in his weak legs to support his weight anymore. While struggling to stand, he thinks to that if this was his old version of himself from before, he definitely would have given up long ago, but at least in this boxing ring right now, he is absolutely not going to give up no matter what happens, and he will prove everyone wrong about him. At the same time, Saman and her dad also hope desperately in their hearts that he doesn't give up yet and manages to hold on for much longer the punishment, so that he can somehow win this extremely difficult match against all odds. Even though Kiju does everything he can to stay on his feet, Daku grows increasingly annoyed because Kiju keeps standing back up no matter how many times he gets knocked down. This time, Daku charges forward with an even stronger punch than before, clearly trying to end the fight for good. He lands heavy blows on Kiju's face and body, shaking him badly, but when Kiju desperately tries to fight back with a counter punch, Daku easily avoids the weak jab without any effort. Right after that, Daku strikes him again with a powerful uppercut that forces Kiju to stumble backward several steps. Even after taking such a hard hit to his chin, Kiju does not collapse onto the floor like everyone expects. Instead, he somehow leans onto Daku's shoulder, using him just to stay standing. Daku looks at him with disgust and thinks that Kiju is being completely pathetic now and that he should just give up already instead of embarrassing himself any further. While barely holding on to him, Kiju then says that if he gives up and quits right now, then he is giving up on himself and everything he has worked for. He says that for the first time in his life, he is truly standing against the world and fighting back instead of running away. Soon after that, the bell rings loudly to signal the break between the rounds. Kiju looks terrible, almost like a lifeless zombie who can barely think or move properly anymore. When he sits down in the corner, Saman's father helps him sit correctly and tells him that it is completely fine to stop the match and give up here. He explains that this is Kiju's very first match and that pushing his body past its limits like this can have serious consequences. However, to his surprise, Kiju firmly says that he wants to keep fighting and continue no matter what. He explains that his opponent is truly trying to defeat him, and unlike the bullying and torment he faced before, this fight feels real. Because of that, Kiju feels excited, since for the first time in his life, someone is treating him seriously and facing him as an equal. Daku thinks about what Kiju whispered to him earlier during their match, remembering that if he gives up here and quits right now, then that would mean that he is completely abandoning himself. While he is lost in thought, Daku's coach then asks him a frustrated question about if he is really focusing on playing this match or is he just joking around right now and wasting everyone's time. In a flashback, Daku's dad is seen slapping him tightly on his face just because he is not focusing on the training properly the way he was supposed to. Right after hitting him, he then grabs Daku roughly with his strong arms and holds him in place, but Daku starts tearing up with pain and says to his father that it's hurting him a lot and he can't take it anymore. Hearing this, Daku's dad gets extremely furious and says that this is not enough pain at all as compared to when this cruel world will really hurt him badly in the future. Despite his father's cruel words, Daku starts crying even harder with tears streaming down his face and says that he will do absolutely anything to become the best boxer possible, and he would even practice non-stop without any kind of rest if that's what it takes. Hearing that, Daku's father drops down and pulls Daku into a tight hug, telling him that he is doing all of this only for him and to make sure he does not grow up to be a loser like his own father. It later turns out that this moment becomes the last time Daku's father ever hugs him, even though Daku deeply wants his father's comfort more than anything else. In a flashback, Daku is sparring with another fighter and ends up getting beaten badly by an opponent who is much stronger than him. No matter what move he tries to use, he cannot gather the courage to face the opponent head-on and fight him properly. In the end, Daku loses the match in a one-sided way and feels crushed inside. He sadly thinks that his father's dreams and expectations for him are set far too high, like they are somewhere in the sky, while he himself is simply too weak to ever reach them or make his father proud the way he wants to. Following this, Daku starts suffering terribly because of all the physical pain he is getting from the beating he took, but surprisingly his opponent gets impressed by him after the match and says that he is really strong as a fighter, which made him feel nervous during the fight. All of a sudden, Daku's dad yells at him to get up from where he is sitting. That surprises everyone in the gym who hears it, and he tells Daku that a man crying those kinds of tears aren't real men at all and he should just fight no matter what happens instead of crying like a girl would. After saying that, he starts shouting aggressively at Daku, saying that real tears only flow at the end of a complete defeat, and asks him directly if he really knows that kind of pain or if he's just weak. Hearing that, Daku somehow gathers all the courage he has left inside him and stands back up on the ring with shaky legs, and this action even surprises his opponent, who wasn't expecting him to get back up at all. The opponent then looks towards Daku's father, but he tells the opponent to continue the match. However, the opponent starts feeling bad for Daku, who can't even stand properly on his own 2 feet without wobbling around. The concerned guy thinks that they really can't go any further with this fight because it's too dangerous, so he just tries to refuse Daku's dad's order by saying that they can't fight anymore, but when he says this, Daku's dad just looks at him with an intimidating expression on his face. After that, the boy has no choice but to continue his fight with Daku even though he doesn't want to, and the match gets Daku knocked down on the canvas quickly with just a few more punches. Once he falls, everyone watching then quickly rushes over with water bottles and other helpful stuff to make sure Daku is alright and not seriously injured from the beating. On this difficult day, Daku couldn't see his dad's back clearly, but he learned something new that would help him succeed in the future ahead. A few years later, Daku gets into a sparring match with the exact same opponent he fought against before when he was younger. However, this time around the situation is completely different, because Daku's opponent quickly notices that Daku is very different now as a fighter because he is even more skilled and talented than him in every single way possible. During the match, Daku shows off his amazing moves by hitting his opponent cleanly with a powerful uppercut punch that completely knocks him out cold and sends him crashing to the floor. After landing that devastating blow, he then looks over to his dad, who is watching from the sidelines, but his father still looks disappointed as usual and says to Daku that he shouldn't get distracted when the sparring session isn't even completely over yet. Hearing that, Daku then feels really bad because he notices that his dad is talking to another guy nearby and smiling, but towards him, his own biological son. He never smiled like that in his entire life. Watching this, Daku's dad tells the other boy standing there something extremely hurtful, saying out loud that Daku has absolutely no real talent whatsoever as a boxer and will never amount to anything, which makes Daku feel extremely furious. Just then, Daku's opponent, who was knocked down, somehow manages to get back up from the knockout punch on shaky legs, saying that Daku really got incredibly strong and powerful over the years of training, but that doesn't mean at all that he would give up that easily either. However, he gets completely shocked to see that Daku is now charging straight at him with full power and the revenge burning in his eyes. Back in present, Daku charges straight at Kiju with a powerful punch aimed right at him, but surprisingly he dodges the attack at the last second and hits Daku back with a perfect uppercut right on his face that sends him flying backward through the air. Seeing that, Saman and her dad both get extremely surprised, but Saman quickly asks her dad if Kiju even practiced doing a pivot followed by a hook combination before training, but her dad replies that he didn't teach him that move. He goes on to explain to her that Kiju is in some kind of trance right now in his current state, letting his body flow naturally with it and move on instinct alone, but still, even if it's pure instinct taking over, he wonders how did he manage to do that difficult technique in that terrible physical state he's in. After that, the crowd of people starts counting the numbers out loud while Daku is lying motionless on the ground, but just on the 8th number before he would be counted out completely, he somehow stands back up on his feet. On the other hand, everyone in the audience can't believe at all how did he manage to get up after taking such a powerful hit right on his face that should have ended the fight. The referee then walks over and asks Daku directly if he can continue to fight in his current condition, but then instead of answering, Daku just looks over at his dad, who is slowly saying the words that Daku is just a complete disgrace and failure. Seeing that, Daku gets extremely furious, but instead of doing anything, he just starts laughing that surprises everyone watching in the arena. Saman then asks her dad why Daku is acting like that and behaving so strangely, and so do all the other people in the crowd, who wonder why he is acting like that and if he has gone completely crazy. Daku then walks up slowly to Kiju, who is still standing in the ring, and asks him about why exactly is he going so far and pushing himself to these limits, because it's completely useless in his opinion, since no one is going to recognize him or appreciate him for going this far with the fight, and he won't even get praised or rewarded for that kind of suffering. Kiju tells him that it doesn't matter at all what others think about him or his efforts, because he himself recognizes himself and his own worth as a human being, and that personal recognition matters the most out of everything in life to him. Not only does he say that, but he also tells Daku something else, that he is also going to praise himself from now on whenever he does something good, so because of this he doesn't need others' validation to prove what he can do as a person in this world. Hearing that, Daku suddenly turns around completely, saying out loud that this match is no fun anymore, and he removes his boxing gloves. He then leaves the ring after throwing the gloves over to the side carelessly, and everyone watching wonders if Daku is forfeiting the match. Seeing his son walk away, Daku's dad then asks him angrily what exactly he is doing leaving the ring like that, so Daku responds back to him by telling him that he is also trying his absolute best to rebel against him just once in his life. However, his dad gets extremely furious and shouts at him to get back to the ring immediately and finish what he started. For the first time in his entire life up until this very moment, Daku doesn't listen to his dad's orders, and he finally stepped out of his father's controlling cage for once and became his own independent person. With that, the referee raises his hand and officially announces to everyone that Kiju is the winner of this match by default, and the audience in the stadium starts cheering loudly. Right after, he then falls down exhausted on the stadium floor, thinking to himself that even though it feels a bit unsatisfying to win this way without a proper finish, he still managed to win this match, which is what matters. Salmon then quickly asks him if he is okay, but Kiju just starts talking about all kinds of nonsense that doesn't make any sense, which makes her turn around and asks her dad if Kiju is okay. Later, Kiju is given an official certificate for his victory, and Kiju along with Salmon and her dad all take pictures together to celebrate this special moment. On the other hand, Wang Yu asks Kyungtae a question about which school exactly Kiju transferred from originally before coming here. The next day, Salmon's father proudly puts the certificate and the picture up inside his gym because he cannot hold back his excitement and happiness anymore. Daku's father tells him to calm down and take it easy, but Salmon's father replies that their gym finally has a certificate, and he still cannot believe that it happens after so many years without getting even one. Daku's father then asks him why he is so happy about it, saying that the whole situation only makes him feel annoyed and irritated instead. After that, Salmon's father sits down right in front of him and says that this is exactly why Daku's father should have kept the kid under control from the start, because he always knows that a day like this would eventually come. He then offers Daku's father a drink as a friendly gesture and tells him to take better care of himself. Daku's father cannot believe what he is seeing, thinking that a stingy person like Salmon's father, who never shares anything with anyone, is actually sharing a drink with him today. After accepting the drink and sitting down together, Daku's father decides to ask him something important that's been on his mind, but before he can finish his question, Salmon's dad starts laughing out loud, saying confidently that he must be really curious about his coaching method and techniques, which is quite obvious to figure out. However, to his surprise, Daku's father then asks him a completely different question about what exactly should he do about Daku and his situation going forward. So Salmon's dad responds by telling him that he has to trust him completely and let him be his own person, because this is what being a good parent really is all about in life. Hearing that, Daku's dad then says that he knows exactly what it takes to raise that kid properly because he's been doing it for years, but suddenly Salmon's dad slams the drink down hard on his desk with frustration. He explains that he didn't teach his son anything real, but instead he tried to clone himself, which is the strangest thing a parent can do. Salmon's dad further says that he never once thought of Daku as his next generation but as a clone of himself who needed to succeed. Hearing that, Daku's dad quickly tries to leave the place immediately, saying that he figured that he wouldn't hear any good words even if he stayed here a bit longer to talk. Watching him, Salmon's dad calls him an ungrateful man who wouldn't even listen properly even when someone tries to give him helpful guidance about his son. Just as Daku's dad opens the door to leave, Salmon's father tells him that when Daku was just young and a little kid, he had his father's eyes, and when he grew up into a teenager, he had his fists, but now the only thing Daku has left of his father is just his shadow following him around. After Daku's dad finally leaves, Salmon's father gets excited because he can't believe at all that he came up with such cool words on a spot like that. Just then, a new boy arrives at the gym's entrance and says that he heard this is the gym that produced the sports boxing champion recently. Seeing that, Salmon's dad gets even more excited and wonders if they are already getting new members to join, which could be the amazing ripple effect of winning the sports boxing tournament. He then tells the boy who looks like a Yakuza agent that this is the gym where the sports boxing champion goes. After that, the boy looks carefully at the picture of Kiju, wondering how someone like him could possibly beat a strong fighter like Daku in a match. He even thinks to himself that Kiju looks quite familiar to him, like he's seen him somewhere before. The mysterious boy then walks up close to Salmon's dad with an intense look that scares him a little bit and asks him where exactly he could find Kiju right now. Feeling a bit intimidated, Salmon's dad then tells him that he can find Kiju at Songseal High School during school hours, so after getting that answer, the guy quickly turns around and leaves the gym. Seeing that, Salmon's dad can't believe at all that the guy just left like that so suddenly without even joining the gym or asking more questions. On the other hand, Wang Yu and his other friends talk amongst themselves about Kiju somehow beating Daku in the tournament, and they are all extremely curious about how a weakling like him could manage to do that against such a skilled opponent. During their discussion, Kyungtae tells them all something he strongly believes is true based on what he knows, saying that it's absolutely obvious that Kiju was a total loser before he transferred to this school from wherever he came from originally, so that means that something is definitely not right here. The next day at school, the class teacher tells everyone in the classroom to enjoy their coming weekend, and when the class finally ends, everyone starts making exciting plans with their friends except for Kiju, who sit quietly. Outside the school building, Kyungtae and the other guys from his group are waiting around for Kiju to come out so they can confront him about something. At the same time, the mysterious boy from before who visited the gym also arrives at the school grounds, thinking to himself that if this is where Kiju goes to school every day, then he must come here as well to find him no matter what it takes. Kiju then walks through the corridor of the school building, thinking to himself that he should head straight to the gym today to continue his training and practice. But then suddenly and without any warning, Kyungtae appears out of nowhere right in front of him and starts making fun of Kiju in a sarcastic way, saying loudly that he is their new sports boxing champion of the school now. Feeling embarrassed by the attention, Kiju then says modestly that he just got really lucky in the tournament and that's all it was, but then another friend of Kyungtae arrives and joins the conversation, saying something nice that luck definitely counts as skill too in competitions, and he looked really awesome out there in the ring. Seriously. After hearing that, Kiju then starts acting awkward and asks them if they watched his match as well at the tournament. Kyungtae responds by saying that they saw everything that happened during the fight, and Kiju kept getting knocked around repeatedly, but somehow, he popped back up every single time like a toy Kiju that won't stay down. After saying that, Kyungtae then moves closer to Kiju and asks him if he can check and see his boxing stance quickly for a moment, but Kiju doesn't understand what he means by that request at all. Kyungtae then adds that the truth is he has started learning boxing lately and watching him box was so cool that he had to try it too. Hearing that, Kiju gets really surprised that Kyungtae got into boxing all because of watching him fight in the tournament, but then immediately after that, another guy standing nearby tells Kiju not to ask about it anymore, because all Kyungtae talks about now is boxing and nothing else since he saw him fight that day. Hearing this, Kiju then gets all excited and enthusiastic about it, and he grabs Kyungtae's hand tightly with happiness, saying with genuine emotion that he finally gets and understands what makes boxing so special now as a sport, and he goes on to explain that boxing really is an awesome sport that changes people's lives. At that moment, Saman walks out of her classroom and notices from a distance that Kyungtae and his friend are taking Kiju somewhere with them, so she wonders inside her confused mind why they all are acting like this now and being so friendly suddenly. On the other hand, Wang Yu and the other boys from his gang are getting ready and preparing themselves with their various weapons to beat up Kiju badly when they finally find him and get him alone. After waiting for a while, Kyungtae and the other guy successfully bring Kiju to that isolated place where everyone is already waiting and ready, and Kiju immediately gets scared and nervous of what they are planning to do to him when he sees all the weapons. Without wasting any time, Wang Yu then gets closer to Kiju and leans in to whisper something, asking Kiju directly if he was a complete loser back at his old school before transferring here. Hearing that, Kiju gets really surprised that they know about his past, but Kyungtae and the others just start laughing at Kiju's face, and Kyungtae also starts laughing even harder while recording everything on his phone to embarrass him later. Kiju gets trapped deep in his own thoughts, wondering sadly that there are painful memories they just want to escape from and forget forever, but they cling to him like sticky mud that won't come off. So, because of this, sometimes these terrible memories drag them right back to that living hell they experienced in their past lives. After thinking about all of this, Kiju then tries to say something, but Wang Yu immediately slaps him hard on his face. The other guy who was standing with Wang Yu at the scene calls Kiju a pathetic loser and thinks that he is someone who is really taking their entire country downhill with his weakness. He then tries to hit Kiju to hurt him badly, but Saman shows up out of nowhere and asks them angrily what exactly they think they are doing here to Kiju. The guy tries to act smart in front of her, so she quickly shoots her school bag straight at his face. Right after that, she just jumps at him and punches him straight in the face with a powerful hit, sending him flying backward through the air and crashing to the ground hard. After taking care of that guy, Saman then tells Kiju to get up quickly from the ground instead of just staring at them and doing nothing to help himself. However, before they can escape from this dangerous situation, Kyungtae and his other friend quickly move to block Kiju's path completely and ask them where exactly they think they are going right now without permission. While seeing this new threat blocking their way, Saman then gets extremely furious and angry at them, and tries to tell them to move out of the way immediately so they can leave, but then she gets really surprised and shocked to see that Kiju is now standing in front of her protectively like a shield, telling the boys directly to move aside and let them pass through safely. However, just when they think they can finally get past, Wang Yu suddenly appears right in front of them and blocks their path, stopping them completely. He looks at them and asks what they are even planning to do if he decides not to move out of the way at all. Seeing Kiju and the others standing up to Wang Yu like this makes Kyungtae extremely angry, because Wang Yu is his friend and he feels they are crossing a line. Filled with rage, Kyungtae rushes forward and throws a strong punch aimed straight at Kiju's face. Kiju reacts quickly at the last moment, narrowly dodging the punch, and immediately strikes back by landing a counterpunch on Kyungtae's face. Right after that, Kiju suddenly notices another guy trying to kick him from the side, so he quickly steps away to avoid the attack and then punches that guy hard in the face as well. Just then, someone asks Kiju directly if he has a question about something, so everyone around looks around in confusion and tries to find out who said that. It turns out, it's the same mysterious guy from before who visited the gym. He then asks everyone in the group if they know who Kiju really is, but no one gives a straight answer to him and one of them gets annoyed, saying out that all kinds of freaks and weird people are showing up to this school now for no reason. Just as this guy tries to hit the mysterious stranger to teach him a lesson, he gets thrown away violently to the side with just one single punch that sends him flying. The others get completely shocked, and they think to themselves that this guy looks like he's the scariest one here out of everyone's present. After that, the mysterious guy then makes an intimidating face and says that when someone asks a question, they should answer first and show respect and then get back to what they were doing before. After hearing this demand, Wang Yu then steps forward bravely and asks the stranger what exactly he is looking for at this school, so the mysterious guy responds by saying that he wants to know where Kiju is right now and how to find him. At that moment, Salmon asks Kiju if he is okay, but it is clear that Kiju is shaken, as if his past trauma suddenly comes rushing back to him. He thinks to himself that trauma lasts much longer than people believe, and just when someone thinks they have finally overcome it, they realize that it was only an illusion all along. Meanwhile, Wang Yu feels confused and wonders why this strange guy is even looking for Kiju in the first place. The mysterious man then speaks up and tells them not to misunderstand his intentions, explaining that he only wants to see the face of the sports champion one time. Soon after, it becomes clear that this mysterious man is someone Kiju recognizes very well from his past, a person who used to bully him non-stop every single day without mercy. What makes Kiju feel even more angry and frustrated is the fact that this bully does not even recognize him anymore or remember who he is at all, as if Kiju never mattered to him in the first place. After seeing this, Wang Yu and the other guys then start laughing loudly at and they say to the mysterious boy that the champion he is looking for desperately is actually Kiju and he is definitely not what he thinks he is at all. Hearing that, the guy quickly gets really excited and he greets Kiju like an old friend, but he also remembers clearly how Kiju managed to beat up Kyungtae and the others earlier that day, so he wonders how this same fist managed to knock out someone as strong as Daku in the tournament. On the other hand, Wang Yu gets offended that the mysterious guy is not paying attention to him at all. The other guy from Wang Yu's team also gets really mad as well that Wang Yu is being ignored like this, so he charges straight at the mysterious boy. However, the mysterious boy then manages to knock out the charging guy with a single powerful knee strike to his body that drops him instantly, and then he punches the other guy as well. After those quick strikes, the guy then manages to beat up every single person in Wang Yu's gang in a single go, and then he turns to ask Wang Yu directly if he wants to fight him as well. All the members of Wang Yu's gang start thinking confidently that this mysterious guy is going to get beaten up badly by Wang Yu because he is making him angry, but instead of doing anything violent, Wang Yu quickly shakes his hand. After greeting the stranger kindly, Wang Yu then turns around and beats up his own team members, saying to them angrily that they shouldn't just gang up on one guy like cowards and embarrass themselves. On the other hand, Kiju tries his best to calm himself down, thinking that there is nothing to be scared of anymore because the mysterious guy doesn't seem to remember him anymore. The guy gets closer to Kiju and asks him a direct question about if they have met each other somewhere before in the past. On the other hand, Salmon's dad is busy cleaning up around the gym and picks up Kiju's picture from the wall. He then finds a much better spot to place it where more people can see it clearly. While doing this, he then starts thinking deeply about the branding strategy that Daku's father told him about during their recent conversation at the gym. During that talk, Daku's father told him that this particular strategy is actually kind of a trade secret in the boxing business, but Salmon's father responds by telling him that these days their gym doesn't just accept anyone who walks through the door anymore like they used to. Hearing that, Daku's father asks him if he is really saying that he now picks and chooses members carefully. Salmon's dad then explains to him that they only take the ones who really look promising and have potential as fighters, and then later on, word spreads naturally among all the kids in the area that they can't just walk into Cheolsung Gym. Back to the present, Saman's dad thinks carefully about that branding strategy concept again, and he realizes something important, that now that they have produced a real champion in Kiju, maybe it's finally time to change their strategy as well and become more selective. At that moment, Saman enters the gym along with Kiju and that mysterious guy from before. Seeing that, Saman's dad asks that guy if he is here to sign up, so he says that he would like to at least try an entrance test. Hearing that, everyone gets shocked and wonders what he is talking about. He then says that since this is the gym that produced a champion, he figured there should be an entrance test. However, Saman's dad tries to refuse, but he remembers what Daku's father told him, that it's all about branding now. After that, the mysterious guy makes a rude comment and says that this place looks like one of those gyms that just take any random person who shows up and only cares about getting the money from them. Saman's dad tells him firmly that he has to take an entrance test before joining like everyone else. The mysterious guy then responds by telling Saman's dad directly that he should just allow him to have one sparring match to prove himself, but both Kiju and Saman get shocked to hear that suggestion, wondering what exactly he means by that request. He then explains clearly that he would really like to go one full round with Kiju in the ring to see what he's capable of, but Kiju just hesitates because he is secretly scared of him from their past. While considering this request, Saman's dad then thinks about it, but Saman quickly says that she is going to spar with him instead of Kiju, because Kiju is their gym's champion right now, so he can't just spar with anybody. After that, Saman and the new guy both get ready to spar in the ring together, but before they start, Saman's dad tells them both seriously not to get worked up and to keep it light and easy. The sparring match then officially begins with Saman carefully observing her opponent, and she thinks that the guy's form is sloppy. Furthermore, she believes that his footwork is way too heavy, which makes her strongly believe that he is just a street fighter who thinks boxing is something easy that anyone can do. Feeling confident, Saman then quickly attacks him with a combination of punches aimed at his head and body, but surprisingly the guy manages to dodge them all with decent reflexes. However, when she tries to hit him with a heavy attack that has more power, he moves aside at the last second and throws an uppercut at her that Saman barely dodges in time. After avoiding that close call, Saman realizes that the last shot was dangerous and could have hurt her badly, and she wonders if it was pure luck or if he has some skill. Not wanting to give up, she once again moves forward aggressively to attack him with more punches, but the guy moves aside again and hits Saman cleanly with a powerful uppercut that connects perfectly. Seeing that, Kiju quickly enters the ring and rushes over to her, asking her if she is okay. The mysterious guy just turns around casually and says to everyone that the sparring is over for today, and he's done. However, before he can leave the ring, Kiju suddenly stops him and challenges him directly to go on a sparring match with him right now instead. How long do you think it will take for Kiju to face his past and truly become a champion? Comment boxing if you'd part 2 of it. Make sure to subscribe the channel for more sports manhwa recaps.